This episode of Test Drive is brought to you by EV Duty.
2019 marks 35 years of the Chrysler minivan. From the Caravan to the Voyager to the Town & Country to even this Pacifica, millions of Canadians have made these vehicles part of their families. Our spotlight is on this 2019 Chrysler Pacifica Limited PHEV with a 16 kilowatt-hour battery, good for about a 60-kilometer full electric drive. But rather than just talk about the fuel economy and what's different about this, we've decided to take it on a road trip along one of North America's busiest transit corridors, from Montreal to Niagara. We're going to be putting this vehicle through its paces, but also see if it's feasible to use our nation's electric infrastructure. Last spring, we featured the 2018 Pacifica Limited non-hybrid. You can watch that video. We did a little bit different style for that one. Didn't really go around the exterior features too much. So that's why we're doing a full spotlight on this one. Again, I think we can do a little bit better job. But you can watch that video as well as the showdown that we did on the Sedona from Kia. Two minivans that we had a chance to feature congruently last year, which was a good thing to be able to do. But now we're in the PHEV. It's actually a vehicle I've been very excited about. If you watched our 2018 year in review, you'll know that the Pacifica was named one of our top 6 overall vehicles for 2018 because I really do like it. Now there are some changes. Despite this being a limited like the other one, the hybrid doesn't quite get as much. There's no HID headlights, no LED fog lights. You have projector-based halogens on this. Nighttime visibility is not great, especially with the fog lights. They don't do a whole lot to help out. You do get the LED daytime running lights, which is a plus, but I mean, for me personally, I understand how LED technology works. It takes less power. I don't understand why they're using non-LED headlights for these vehicles, or at least the HID would have been better. Why not just use the same ones? It's the same trim level, it should have the same features. So that's a big disappointment for me. Kind of kills the look of the car a little bit. Also the safety and functionality of it, so something to note. But you do have power folding mirrors. They are body color matched because we do have the S appearance package on this. It is also the limited trim, like I mentioned. You have 360-degree camera, full parking sensors all the way around, and that S package adds a few little things. You have the glass black accents around, like door trim, the front grille, and also around the turn signal area here. It's a little darker in that area. Plus you have these 18-inch black noise wheels, which I think look pretty cool. So it gives the car a bit of a different look. There's also a special 35th anniversary edition, which gives you a limited edition 35th anniversary Chrysler wing badge on the front, as well as badging on the inside and the back, and a different color scheme for the interior stuff. So I think it's cool if you want to have that, but we do have the S package on here. One of the features we didn't talk about too much, I don't even think at all in the other video, was the fact that with the Pacifica, you can swipe your foot underneath the side doors. This is a huge plus. I mean, you kick underneath the rear trunk to be able to open it up, and then you can swipe to get into the backs of the vehicle. So if you do have stuff in your hands, you have a baby, if you're carrying your child, you're carrying the car seat, you give it a little swipe, door will open. Good plus. You do have a button to be able to close it. From the inside here, you can do it from the fob. You can also do it from the center control. Like I said, around back, you can kick your foot to be able to open up the trunk. You have the 360-degree camera system, which works pretty well. And then the automatic reverse braking system. I'm not a huge fan of that. We've tested it before on a lot of Mopar products. It's not for me. But safety-wise, you do get a lot of it. Blind spot monitoring, rear cross-traffic alert, forward collision warning, lane departure, parallel and perpendicular park assist, and adaptive cruise control with stop and go. So essentially the full suite of safety tech that you would expect. It's a good thing to have on a minivan because really, like we mentioned last year, people are probably going to be looking at this instead of the larger 3-row crossovers. So let's jump inside now. We'll talk about the features there, and then we'll start our road trip. And because this does have the S package, the interior seats here come in the black Nappa leather with the gray diesel accents, as well as the embossed S logos in the backs of the seats. I think it looks pretty nice. You still have the same features and everything on here. It does work very well. I really do like it. The big plus with the S package, though, is the black headliner. That's a nice plus on top of the beige one that was on the Limited that we had last year. but all the tech is essentially the same. Uconnect 4 with the 8.4-inch display. You have navigation, Sirius XM, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, everything you need there. You have the dual 10-inch Uconnect theater screens in the back to be able to play games, watch Blu-ray movies. For the kids in the back, you've got headphones there, great plus. The main difference with the back seat though is there is no stow and go for the second row because that's where the batteries are for this vehicle. So they had to take that feature out in order to make it a hybrid. The rear seats, also the third row, they do stow into the floorboards, but they're not power operated like we saw on the limited non-hybrid. Now the one thing I found about this, again, you can go and take a look at our video last year. We talked about everything on the inside here, but I am disappointed when it comes to the information you get for the EV controls here. You do have a e-hybrid screen here, shows you how much you're using battery-wise, engine-wise, the climate settings. It'll show you a little graphic of whether or not you're using the battery or the engine. You do have a pretty detailed drive history, shows you each day for the last 2 weeks sort of thing. You can see if you're in electric mode or in hybrid mode. You also have charging schedule, but that's it. Same thing for the screen at the top. You can see your battery level, you can see the EV range, the gas range, a mix of the two, as well as no tachometer. You just have essentially power and charge. But my issue with this, as a plug-in hybrid, there's no EV only mode. And even driving my daughter to school today with a full charge, the car still was using the gas engine. So I think that's a bit of a letdown. There's no option to charge the battery. There's no option to maintain the battery, something that we saw on something like the Volvos that we featured. So if you are driving somewhere that you really do need to use that EV motor and save it, you don't have that option with this. We will do more testing as we take it on our road trip because I picked it up, the battery was drained. We did use about 22 kilometers electric range despite it having essentially 0% battery. But then around here we've used it just basically back and forth to school. And again, it does use that motor. The car has been running the entire time that we've been filming this. Obviously, the 5 to 10 minutes that you're watching here isn't how long this car has been running. It's been running for about 25 minutes. So I've used up about 22% of the battery so far just for it to sit here running the HVAC controls and having it on. So those are the things that I'm a little disappointed with. We will do more testing. You're going to be joining us on our road trip, so you'll see everything that we're going to be experiencing, not only how this car performs as a PHEV and seeing how good we can get our fuel economy during our drive, but also the infrastructure for charging vehicles here in Canada. We took a look on chargehub.ca. They have a trip planner. They allow you to put in your starting and finishing destination and see where the chargers are. In Montreal area, fantastic, even leading into Montreal, has a lot of options. Once you get into Ontario, it's like the wild, wild west. There's nothing there. So we're going to see, can we keep this thing charged up while we're driving along? Can we save as much fuel as possible? Or is it going to be just like driving any other minivan without the hybrid? Before we start off on our 2,000 kilometer road trip, it's important for us to make sure that the vehicle is fully charged. And with our EV Duty smart home charging solution, it really is as simple as just plugging in your device, going into your smartphone app, starting it up. It takes a few seconds to be able to work. And now they have SMS notifications. So once your charging is done, you'll get a quick text to tell you so. Or if something happens and it disconnects, so you're not waking up the next day and finding out your EV didn't charge. Find out more information by visiting elmec.ca. Hello viewer, you're joining us here in Nappanee, Ontario. Actually, technically it's Loyalist, but we're at the en route stop in Nappanee. We've been driving about 400 kilometers since about 6 o'clock this morning. Only 42 kilometers of that was fully electric. Now the motor has been working with the electric motors, so the fuel efficiency has been better. We're averaging around 8.2 liters per 100 kilometers right now, but that is not what we were hoping for. First of all, you're supposed to do about 60 kilometers full electric. Haven't gotten near that. And charging it is a bit of a problem. So we're here, as I said, at the en route. You take a look at their website, they say that there are no electric chargers. Actually, there's no information about it at all. I saw these signs on the other side, just passing by on the other side, future home of a charging station. What a useless sign to have. I don't care if they're going to put it in the future. I'm here now, I want to charge it now. So there are no charging stations here, and that I think will be one of the big problems for a lot of people. It's a good thing we have a PHEV and not a full electric car, because if we were driving something like the Chevrolet Bolt right now, we would be pretty much out, because it does about 400 kilometers if you're really, really lucky. 383 is the estimated range. So we would have run out of electricity a while ago. So something to note. We could take it off the highway and find a charger that way and sit for a couple hours, but they are not that convenient, and that's going to be a big issue. And we're going to be talking about that actually when we get to our next stop, unless by some miracle there is a charging station at one of these en routes we'll stop before. But I've got some stuff I want to talk about when we get to our destination about the electric infrastructure here in Ontario and generally across this country. So when it comes to a road trip, it's not just getting to the destination, but you're probably going to be doing stuff while you're there. And we've had quite a bit of driving around to do since we've gotten to the Toronto area. And now that we're heading back, I want to talk about everything that this car has done before the final drive back. We've driven 1,324 kilometers, 371 of which were fully electric, which sounds all right. It's not too bad, which means 952 of those were fully gas. Now, we only were able to stop once to charge up the car during the road trip. That was at Lime Ridge Mall in Hamilton. That was essentially when we got to our destination. So we filled it up there for about 25-30 minutes, got maybe 20% battery out of it, and then drove to our hotel where we had a car charger, and luckily that worked out. Now, the issue that we experienced when we were at the hotel is there was somebody parked there when we got there that didn't have an electric car. They were just being annoying in the spot. And then people here don't know how to park, so often we'd pull in and they'd be over the line in the other spots, or they'd be too close, and it was really tight getting a big vehicle like this in. Since there's only 2 charging stations there, it was a bit of a pain. And I know that they put them closer to the front to incentivize people, but you know, if it were me, put them further away, put them in the farthest spot like Tesla does, so that you're further away from people and there's less likelihood that they'll steal your spot if you're not using an actual electric car. So we've done 7.6 liters per 100 kilometers up until this point, which is pretty good. It's similar to what we've done on other road trips with much smaller vehicles, more aerodynamic cars. So overall, the fuel efficiency has been pretty good, but it just comes down to the infrastructure. Only 2 places that we've been able to charge it up. It's not that great. Our drive home is going to be completely electric free as well. It's all going to be gas. The only charging station along our travels that is convenient will be in Quebec, the first sort of out routière that they have to be able to stop. There is a charger there. So we're going to be charging it up maybe for a few minutes there and then continuing on our road trip fully gas oriented. But what can you do? That's the whole point of this video, is to talk about how good or how bad the electric infrastructure is if you want to do a road trip. And so far, I'm not too impressed. The best part of a road trip is getting home. No matter what, you know, no matter how far you go, how long it takes you, getting home feels the best. I mean, I'm so happy to be home finally. We got in late last night. I mean, you're watching this later on, but from the day that we're filming it, it was last night that we got home. It took about 8 hours to get from Toronto to here. So it wasn't too bad. Traffic was okay. We stopped just as much. And again, the trip home netted us pretty much zero in terms of electric power. We did stop once, actually, in the Ajax area. I think it was Whitby. At Motor City Mitsubishi, they had a free electric charger, so we stopped there for about 15-20 minutes just to charge up while we were eating lunch. Now, there were a few dealerships there that also had electric chargers, but essentially it was a few minute drive off the highway. So not only did we waste essentially gas getting off the highway to get to lunch and then charge up, but pretty much by the time we got back to the highway, we'd used up the 15 to 17 minutes we'd actually used to charge up the car. So we were kind of net zero when it came to that. But that's the biggest letdown. Not so much the car, we'll talk about that, but the electrification. And I want to go over that because it's obviously the whole point of our episode here. Last year we featured the 2018 Pacifica Limited, was the full petrol version of it. And my opinion about the vehicle hasn't changed. Ride is good, comfort is good, interior noise level is good as well. Overall, it is a very spacious and comfortable vehicle. The letdown with the hybrid is the lack of HID headlights. Now, LED would certainly be best, but HID is certainly a step up over these pretty poor performing halogen headlights. I really don't understand why they don't offer it here. Maybe it's a cost thing, because essentially that's it. You're only losing a few things. The HID headlights aren't on this. The center row stow and go seats, because there is no way to put them down. That's where the battery packs are, underneath the center row. And then the rear seats, the third row, they were power on the limited gas version. These ones, they're just manual. It takes a little bit of effort to get them up and down. But aside from that, the car is essentially the same as what we had before. So my opinion hasn't changed. Headlights are the only thing that was a letdown. So if you really want to know absolutely everything that we thought about this, definitely take a look at that episode. But let's talk a minute about our electric infrastructure as well as our drive. The total that we did, total distance, everything including starting here, getting here and all that, 2,000 44 kilometers. So quite a bit of time during the course of a week with this vehicle. We did 1,606 kilometers fully gas, 438 of which were electric. So it's not the worst. We averaged out to 7.9 liters per 100 kilometers total, which is pretty good considering, again, the size of the vehicle, the weight of it. It's not super aerodynamic compared to some of the other vehicles that we've taken, so it's not bad at all. But it's the infrastructure that isn't that great, especially in Ontario. Aside from being able to charge up at some of the electric dealerships around mostly the Toronto area, we really didn't have much. We did stop once, as I mentioned, at Lime Ridge Mall in Hamilton. That one had a charger. It also had a fast charger there as well. And they usually have Tesla stations in the bigger areas. And then at our hotel, we had that as well. So that was about it. Aside from that, there was nowhere else conveniently placed for us to stop. Once you get into Quebec, though, things get quite a bit better. The first Alt Routier, as I mentioned, has an electric charger. So if you get off there, you need to use the washroom. Maybe you want to get a little bit of dinner, a little bit of lunch on your road trip. Stop there for half an hour or an hour. You might get a little bit of charge out of it. But then they are pretty conveniently placed. You look in Montreal, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of electric chargers available. And then along the 20, which takes us out obviously to our area, but even up to Quebec City, where a lot of people will be vacationing this summer, there are places to stop along the way that have electric chargers. And not just the major highways, even some of the minor auto routes that we have out here have electric charging stations at the pit stops. So it's much better out here. It makes sense because Quebec seems to have been really pushing the electric stuff, and with Ontario taking away the tax credits for electric vehicles, I don't really see a whole lot of infrastructure being put into them. I did mention that the en routes have signs saying that there will be a future electric charger at most of them. Again, that's not something that helps us out here on our road trip. But overall, I think it was a very enjoyable experience. Again, the car was great on the road. We did save a lot of gas, maybe not as much as we could have if the infrastructure was better, but still, 438 kilometers is better than zero. So it really worked out well. So if you have any questions about this car, please let us know in the comments below. Again, we've had this car for a week. We had it again last year, so I know quite a bit about the Pacifica. And man, we saw a ton of them in Ontario. So these are popular cars, especially with the hybrid. Until next time, take care.